This is where it all began. This Raptors franchise, it's been through a lot. It's been through the Damon Stoudemire eras, the Vince Carter era, the Chris Bosh era, the little bit of a Bargnani era, and then the DeMar DeRozan era, and then the Kawhi Leonard era comes to an end. Even though it was a short one, it was the best one by far, as it led to the promised land, the top of the mountain, the LOB, Larry O.B., the Larry O'Brien Championship. We are the world champs. As I got that shirt that says "We got 'em," as the Raptors get the chip for the first time ever in franchise history. Since 1995, this team has been created. The Raptors have never been to the NBA Finals, and we went to the NBA Finals for the first time. First ever Eastern Conference Championship. First ever NBA Championship. Wrap it all up in a nice little bow, as the Raptors are the kings of the world and of the East. It's just an epic series of events, and a well-deserved for this team that's been through a lot. Tons of bad seasons, tons of players who left, forced trades, didn't step up to their potential, and players that didn't want to come here end up getting traded here and never playing a game as well. So the Raptors have been through a lot. The city has a bad rep as a city that's super cold. It's Canada, it's customs and taxes, all sorts of stuff like that. But the city is actually fantastic. It's very diverse. You guys know how it is. It's a magnificent city. It's beautiful. It's always lively. Whatever time you want to go out, there's food, there's parties, there's like a great people, and it's a diverse city. It has tons of attractions. Just don't know why people don't want to come up here as often, but Kawhi Leonard put a great light on this city, and maybe that influences other people, other players to come over and play for the Toronto Raptors, as this team is a championship caliber team and can win it all when it comes down to it. So let's just going down the list. 1995, we get Damon Stoudemire as our first pick, and you know what? He turns out to be Rookie of the Year. The Raptors still don't make the playoffs and go through a little bit of a slump, not making playoffs, until Vince Carter gets drafted along with Tracy McGrady in there. The Raptors somehow make it to the playoffs and eventually lose in the first round. But there was hope. We finally made the playoffs. Maybe this team can take off. Vince Carter is now looked as a superstar, wins the dunk contest. Everything's coming together. In that 2001 playoffs, the Raptors get out of the first round in a tough series and then push the 76ers to Game 7, where Vince Carter misses the shot as it'll go down. As he misses it just by the skin of the rim, he fades, taking that long distance to win the game. Just not enough. Raptors lose by 1. Just a tough heartbreak, because that was the first time the Raptors ever made the second round, and it looked like we had a chance to go far, because if the Raptors won that game, they go on to the next round where they face the Bucks, and the 76ers eventually beat the Bucks. So we were just on par with the 76ers. So we would have made the finals as well. Most likely we would lose to Kobe and Shaq, since they were so dominant against the 76ers as well. But it gave the Raptors some hope, because we could have just made the finals there, and it could have been our first appearance there, and maybe that could have attracted players back then. But the shot doesn't go through. You think, oh, this Raptor team could maybe come back and make a deep run the next year. It's just been first round exits after that, and then injuries hit, players get old. Hakeem retired, then Antonio Davis was traded, Vince Carter was traded and injured. He eventually left, and the Raptors went into the shithole once again. Eventually had to draft Chris Bosh with the 4th pick, which was massive. He was a franchise-changing player as well. He played well, but we could not get to the playoffs. Jose Calderon came, then Anthony Parker's, Joe Mario Moons, the Juan Dixons, the TJ Fords, mix that all in with the Bargnani era that combined in there. And the Raptors made the playoffs once again. But first round exit once again, just could not get past the Orlando Magics and just couldn't get over that hump. Then lose to the Nets and Vince Carter, which was tough to watch since Vince Carter was dominant against the Raptors whenever he played them. A Raptor killer by the name of it right there. He destroyed us. Game winners, like ridiculous fading 3-point shots to tie the game. Reverse dunks to end the game. Game winners like that where he hangs on the rim. It was just tragic to watch all that, especially at the hands of Vince Carter, who was like the most hated player on earth as a Raptor fan. But times have changed now, and we've learned to forgive and forget, since he was the one who put us on the map, and globally he took us the furthest we've ever been. But that was tough to watch. Then from like 08 to 2013, the Raptors failed to make the playoffs every year, and then Bosh ends up leaving, and DeMar DeRozan gets drafted, and then DeMar DeRozan, after Bosh leaves, says, "I got us." And DeMar DeRozan held on to the Raptors ever since 09, and he carried the franchise, getting better every single season. And he put in a lot of work for this city, and he signed extensions, and he wanted to stay in Toronto and build a foundation, which was huge because he was part of the culture that led to this championship in 2019. But let's not get too far ahead. So DeMar DeRozan gets drafted, and then we start putting pieces together. The Kyle Lowry trade happens. Bargnani gets shipped off. Rudy Gay gets shipped off. And then the roster just starts forming right there. JV eventually comes and starts playing for the Raptors after being drafted early on. I believe about 2011. And then the roster comes together. You have Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, and JV as your three pillars of your team, and they make it far. They go deep in the playoffs multiple years. In 2013, 2014, they make the playoffs, surprising the entire league. Raptors in the playoffs, and we were a top seed. We were like a top 3 or 4 seed. We got the division title, the Atlantic Division title, and then we end up going to the first round against the Brooklyn Nets, which was the aftermath of the Boston Celtics. So it was Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, Paul Pierce, KG, Jason Terry, Brook Lopez. That was a stacked roster. The most expensive starting lineup, I think, in franchise history or NBA history for sure, as each player made about $20 million. Raptors ended up losing in Game 7 thanks to Paul Pierce blocking Kyle Lowry. And that was a sad day for the Raptor fans, as the F Brooklyn statement came from Masai Ujiri to push the Raptors and motivate them, as Jurassic Park was just beginning then. And it gave the Raptors hope that this team could be something else. The next year after, we get swept by the Washington Wizards, a real setback. Lou Williams wins 6th Man of the Year, but that really gave you like a gut check that, is this team really ready for the big stage? The Raptors come back in 2015, 2016 with the vengeance of not losing the first round no more, as they got all the way to the conference finals for the first time in franchise history. DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, and JV are in the conference finals with the Raptors, and the Raptors stand in front of, guess who? LeBron James. And this is where the LeBron James owning the Raptors series begin. Raptors go off against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and LeBron takes the first 2, but the Raptors march back, steal the next 2 games. Bismack Biyombo was epic in that series, blocking people and then dunking on the other way, throwing up the Usain Bolt stature, and then the Raptors somehow, some way end up losing in Game 6 on their home floor, as the Cavs go on to the finals, and they put up a great fight. But you know what? That Cavs team was amazing. But the Raptors, they didn't give up. The next season, they came back, they got to the first round, and then they bumped into LeBron James once again, and then they were swept. And that was a tough one to swallow because you made so much progress, but you run to this guy again, and not only do you not win a game, you get swept. That was another setback for this franchise right there, as LeBron James reigned supreme again. After winning a franchise record 59 games, the Raptors in the 2018 season, they looked like they were going to get over that hump and hopefully not run into LeBron James, but to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, to get to the NBA Finals, you have to beat the King. And the King of the East was LeBron James. And the Raptors faced LeBron James in the second round, and you guys probably remember this as it wasn't too long ago. He dominated the Raptors once again in the second round, spinning the ball in his hands, hitting threes, and then hitting dagger, game-winning shots, floating away on the baseline, a floater off the backboard over OG's head, while DeMar DeRozan gets benched in the fourth quarter of the final game, gets ejected, and that was the last time you've seen Dwayne Casey, as he won Coach of the Year that season for a franchise record in 59 games, but eventually gets swept again at the hands of LeBron James in the second round. DeMar DeRozan gets traded, and then here we are, the 2018-2019 season, where the Raptors trade DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green. Jakob Poeltl goes in that trade as well from the Raptors. And the Raptors make a trade deadline trade where they trade JV, DeLon Wright, and CJ Miles for Marc Gasol as they bolster up their starting lineup and just get more veterans, more superior defensive players. And Masai Ujiri was a genius crafting this team, just filled in the roster. Kyle Lowry at the starting point guard, Danny Green at the 2, Kawhi Leonard at the 3. Pascal Siakam elevated his game even further, was almost a borderline all-star this year, and then Marc Gasol in the middle, and then Nick Nurse does a great job stepping in and just figuring out the roster, and then you have Van Vliet, Norman Powell, Serge Ibaka giving you great impactful minutes off the bench as his team just came together. All those terrible seasons, those losing seasons, those heartbreaking playoff failures, all those players that you went through, from the Joey Grahams to the Jorge Garbahosas, the Rasho Nesteroviches, the Lauren Woods, just tons of players, the Juan Dixons, the Chris Childs, the D Browns, the Chauncey Billups, Marcus Camby's, the Hakeem Olajuwons, the Jerome Williams, the Keon Clarks, the Morris Petersons, the Vince Carters, the Tracy McGrady's, just every single player that you've ever seen and worn the Raptors jersey, the TJ Fords, the Jose Calderones, the Steve Novaks, the Jason Kaponos, the Rashawn Leonards, just everyone there, 3-point champions, dunk champions, and Terrence Ross's, Vince Carter's, DeMar DeRozan stars, Kyle Lowry stars. It's just, it took a group effort, a collective effort, the culture, the team history, all that journey, the process, just to get this championship right there, the Larry O.B. It was all worth it, as those are the players who set the groundwork and the foundations for this team to get to the spot today. As we stand on top of the mountain at the king of the world with the Larry O.B., the Raptors are your 2019 world champions and is much deserving. Kawhi Leonard is your finals MVP. And the Raptors, through 4 grueling series, 4-1 against the Orlando Magic after dropping the first. And then the 76ers, who were your toughest challenge in the playoffs. 7 games, goes down to the shot as Kawhi Leonard throws up the fadeaway 2 on the baseline, giving it 4 bounces on the rim before it falls, setting the city into mayhem, sending the Raptors to the conference finals for the first time ever since LeBron James killed us not too long ago. And then the Raptors face off against the Bucks who are favored to get to the finals, and taking on the MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Raptors dethroned him as well. After dropping the first two, they went 4 straight off a hobbled Kawhi Leonard. The Raptors managed to get to the NBA Finals against who else but the reigning 2-time champs, the Golden State Warriors. You could not write a better script than this against the best team in basketball. No Kevin Durant in this one for them. And then Klay Thompson goes down and Cousins comes back. Tons of moving parts, and Kevon Looney gets injured as well. But you know what? You just have to grind it out. You cannot lose focus about who's there and who's not. As the Raptors pushed through, they won the first, lost the second, won the third game, won the fourth game, both in Oracle they stole, lost the next game at home, but then stole the last game in Game 6 on the road as they sealed it to this Toronto Raptors team, as they stole the championship, as they won it, just grabbed it out of their hands, that the Warriors thought they're going to three-peat once again. As the Raptors put that trophy up, no one thought the Raptors were going to win this championship, but in your heart of hearts, every Raptors fan was hoping for this and dreaming for this and believing we would have the Larry O'B in our hands. And on this day, the Raptors have won the championship. Hats off to the team, the coaching staff, the front office, the players, and everybody just did a great job. And the fans, we love it, as we've been through the tough times, but you guys did all the hard work, and we believe in you guys, and thank you for all that. As your Toronto Raptors are your NBA champions of the 2019 playoffs. Thank you guys. Until next time, Raptors history. Peace. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to the Raptors Wrap Up. Smash that like button, guys. Until next time. Deuces.